Howdy, all of you delicious people. I'm here today to review All of Us Are Dead. You heard me. You heard me. Anyways, so we are here today to review Season 1, Episode 3. Number of those. And so we're going on, and we are otherwise to say that we've kind of slowed down this show a little bit. Just kind of push it down a little bit. Just kind of was like, you know what, man? Like, could you, like, you're at a 9 right now. Could you go to like a 4? I'd really appreciate it. That's what it kind of feels like this episode is to really be. But we do some crazy stuff within this episode where I'm like, oh my god, the one girl in the bathroom, I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck, woman? Lady? Young child? I'm not quite sure what exactly, because it seems like she has some real growing up to do, but it seems like she isn't going to be doing that for very long, so to speak. Man, this episode, bravo to some of the stuff that they do in this show, where all of a sudden it's like a whodunit all of a sudden, a mystery upon this episode that has to be weirdly solved. I'm like, man, the show is really interesting. I still can thoroughly enjoy the strategy of it all, and we still have people that still don't realize that this is a zombie apocalypse. Because they've heard of Train to Busan, but, like, so Train to Busan exists in this world. But people don't immediately, like, if I'm in a world where a zombie movies exist, I would immediately just be like, okay, like, I am not going to be so tempted and to put my mouth near, or I'm going to put my mouth, that doesn't sound weird, that sounds weird. I'm going to put my hand somewhere near someone's chomper. No. Anyways, but we of course have to go on here and correct something, because I am no longer going to call Soo Hyuk. I'm never going to call him that anymore. I'm just going to call him Bear Soo, because that seems to be a lot easier. And they've called him Bear Soo through multiple times in this episode. So I wanted to have to confirm who Bear Soo was, and evidently is to be this guy. So I am going to go on and no longer ever have to pronounce that name and butcher the out of it, because I know people will get annoyed. And hopefully I'll be able to pronounce any other name that comes flying out of my mouth, because I'm sure I won't. But there's always that fun. Yeah, I still like this episode, but it just kind of feels like a cool down from the last episode. We really have it where I don't understand the whole Mr. Lee and detective thing. I feel like this whole thing is just a waste, because I'm like, they should really be doing something more important here. Like, this detective should be running off and trying to defend his city instead of going into this interrogation room, just going on and be like, Mr. Lee, what more do you have for me for this story? Because I desperately need to know. But we have to still realize that this story is to still be, like, 3 episodes later, it's still the exact same day, I'm naturally assuming, right? We have 3 episodes that all take place in one day. Is that how the whole entire show is just going to be? Where it's like, yeah, it's the whole entire span of 2 days. And that's how the show is just going to go off. And because what kind of mind ninjas me is we had, like, Day of the Dead, where, like, every bit of that still has to all take place within, like, one long stretch of a day, until they finally go on to, like, okay, now let's finally, but I just have more fun with the show. Even kind of the slower episodes, I can enjoy them a little bit more. So with that said, and some people may have different feelings about this show. If you've gone on to every single one of these episodes, every single one of these reviews with me, thank you. I really do appreciate it. So with that said, let's go out of our way to go into just spoiler time about this one, because really we have like little stories going on here, and then there's a big massive story. So let's go out of our way to say that it's about that time yet again to go into this thing called spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time again to spoil this episode. So let's get it. Let's get done with the Mr. Lee thing, because it's just not important to me. It's not important enough to me. Um, so we have Mr. Lee still going on and talking to this detective, Sung Jae Tu. And if I'm butchering any name through here, you can correct me. You can go on and like, oh no, you like it's pronounced this and whatever, and I'll try to go and see if I can correct it via the next episode. Unless the person dies, and then it's otherwise like. So I butchered the name. There's nothing I can do. The person is dead anyways. Well, sadly enough. But I can go on to the next episode and be like, yeah, I guess this name was pronounced this, but this person died in that one episode. So we go on and have Song, who is talking to Mr. Lee, and so really it's still just like Song and Mr. Lee just kind of having this small talk, which means nothing to me. So I would rather just say, like, well, there's that there, but it means still nothing. Uh, like, we have a tour song, of course, is still talking about this virus, and we still have it to where, like, Mr. Lee is not giving us really any brand new information of how to kill this virus or to kill this people. It seems that we are to see within this episode that people who get stabbed in the neck seem to die. Am I wrong about that? Am I right about that? Let me know in the comments below if you think that too. Or, so maybe if you chop off these people's heads, Zombie is to, of course, be taken down. Because it seems that we have the archery kids in the bathroom who seem to be, like, their zombies and attacking them anytime soon. And all they did was one thing through the mouth and then one arrow in the neck. And we go on, we have the kid that, of course, is in the cafeteria, who, of course, I believe is Yoonji Nam, I believe. And so Yoon is going on and is to finally, in the cafeteria, he's just kind of hiding underneath this table. And we go on and have this one guy who chucks this one guy out for him to get eaten. And then Yoon decides, like, well, okay, I guess I'm going to just start, like, running for it just to see if I can, like, get out of here, or because, like, zombies are coming for him anyways. So all of a sudden Yoon is to realize that he's stuck here, because everywhere he walks there's another zombie. To all of a sudden there's to be this one cook who's like, hey, you, come in here, like, we'll be down here, we'll be safe. And so all of a sudden we go on and we have Yoon who grabs this woman and shoves her right in front of the zombie for the zombie to go and eat her. And I'm like, oh my god, what an a-hole! Oh my god! And then he goes on, and then he has to fight off these zombies, and so he luckily has this one, like, pan of a thing that he can hold against this guy's head. And then we have this knife where he's, like, stabbing into the guy's neck. And so it seems that seems to be that the zombie falls down. So I'm like, is this guy gonna finally freaking go on after a number of X amount of hours now? Is he finally gonna go on and kill every single zombie in this room, and then go on and just, like, like, finally? Is that what he's finally going to do after he's figured it out? You would think that would be the strategy with this character, but I'm assuming he's just going to hide under a table again for another 2 episodes. And I will get ticked if that's what he does. If he's just like, well, I'm just going to hide it out. No! Take every zombie that's out in this room, take them out now. Or what happens when you want to go and fall asleep? Are you just going to hope and pray that the zombie doesn't hear you snoring? Or, like, come on. Like, that's the thing that I think people don't think about, is the fact that it's like, well, you're going to have to sleep eventually. You're going to fall asleep. Would you like to do that without there being a zombie around? That would be pretty smart. Because eventually people will get tired anyways. So, excuse me. So now we go on, and we of course have, let's go and focus upon, there's to be this one girl who, not exactly sure who she is. I think it's Kim Ji-min. And people could confirm that because there's a bunch of people that have the exact same freaking name. Kim J-I and then hyphen M-I-N. So we go on and we have this girl who is in this bathroom and she's giving birth to this child. Like, what the fuck? What the show? Like, we have this girl that is just, like, pulling the baby out of her, and it's like, what? Since when is this girl pregnant? What? I am so confused. Like, was this girl just consistently wearing a backpack over her chest to, like, make us not realize that she's pregnant? This show is so weird. So this one girl is just giving birth, and I don't know, she, like, it seemed like she cut the umbilical cord somehow at some point. So this girl is just going around with this baby, and I'm like, hey, nothing better happened to this baby. I don't care if it seems like things are going to go horribly awry for this child. I'm hoping that the end of this story is to be that baby is perfectly fine. Because I'm rooting for the baby. I don't care about any of the other people. Just baby needs to be good. Baby needs to be okay. And then eventually whoever probably has the baby is probably going to get torn apart by zombies. Because baby cries. It's going to happen. That's what I was always worried about in Walking Dead. When the one girl had a child, and like I'm just waiting for the child to just be screaming its head off, and then freaking zombie starts forming. That's what I was worried about for that show. So we also have it where Shang Tsung's mother is to go on and put a sign up for her restaurant, and like we have it to where this kid's face is on the restaurant poster. It's on almost everything, like piece of paper and banners and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, man, if I was this kid, I would just be like, oh my god, like, why? Why is my face on this? Kind of like why would my face be on every thumbnail? I don't want it to be, but it's a thing that has to be, because otherwise, how would you know it's my video, my channel, my whatever? You probably could have figured it out. So we go on into this mother who is to find out that this high school is to possibly have some kind of virus, some kind of infection. And so this woman is just going on with this motorcycle that it feels like she can't even drive. Just being honest, like she falls over a lot. So we have this mother that goes on and oh, good, I have that too. Because I was like, oh, I'm probably gonna get to this moment, and not have a clue who these people are. Uh, yeah, they just call them their mother and their father. What kind of garbage is that? Why don't you have their actual names? I guess it really doesn't matter. But anyways, so there's another part that I'm gonna have to get to soon. That I was like, oh, good, I have maybe names of those. So we go on. We have this woman that is to in this delivery motorcycle going on to try to make it to this school, and we find out there's this big riot police that are just like, I'm sorry, that looks so stupid. That looks so we have all these people in these like riot gear pushing all these people back. And I'm like, this is a zombie virus infection where it's heavily contagious. I would just give these people a warning, and if they don't adhere to it, pelt them with freaking bullets. Or pelt them with freaking rubber bullets. You can do that, right? That seems like a humane thing to do. Just pelt some people with some rubber bullets. This is a contagious virus, and you're hoping that these riot guys don't all get infected. I'm like, no. I would definitely not like to be the guy or girl that has to go on but I'm a guy anyways, that is going to go have to do that job. Where it's like, yeah, let's just use this shield to just block these zombies. Yeah, this is great. How does that always go horribly awry in every single movie or show that you've ever seen in your life? And how is it that these people still don't understand that these things are zombies? Shoot them! Really, they're gonna go on and try to murder you or turn you, whatever. You would think that these people are to be like rabid people, that there is no reasoning with them. And so I don't know, you could have a lot of people, it's like, well, hey, people can think that it's a hoax, and people are just like acting like they're zombies. No. Pow. That sounds horrible, but still. So this woman can't get through the delivery. The Shang Tsung's mother can't get through here, so she just goes back into town because there's nothing for her to do. All of a sudden, she bumps into this one girl that has her child, and so we now go on and we have this woman that is to. I think it seems like she probably twisted her ankle because she's like walking, she's limping, so must be going something on with that leg. So we have this woman who's like, oh my god, ah, as these zombies are like, I want some of that. So this woman just starts running off, and the girl with the child, the baby, is to go on into this restaurant, and so all of a sudden, we find out that this girl is to, I guess, have been bitten on her arm. So, like, we have this really cool shot where she's like running, and she's looking at her arm, and this is like a really cool shot. It looks like it's really like really focusing on her and kind of moving along with her. Like, that was a kind of a cool shot. I like those kind of shots there that get like where it seems like you're the person like right in front of that person, and I don't know, moving on. So we go on and we have this girl that goes in this restaurant, and she is slowly but surely turning. So she is to go and get this ribbon and is to tie herself onto this door because she doesn't want to go and possibly hurt this baby. I'm like, well, good for you, kid. Even though you're turning, and it seems like at some point all these zombies are going to make it into this place and probably kill your baby, which I hope that doesn't happen. I hope there's something that happens in this story that just doesn't happen. But zombie shows and movies tend to at sometimes do horrible things, and then I'm like, no, no, why did you have to go so dark there in this show? Um, so, uh, I'm rooting for the baby. No one else. I hope everyone dies in a fire. Baby, stay alive for at least 3 more episodes. So, uh, so we go on and we have, uh, like now I think, let's go with the paramedics. So, the paramedics were to go on to this, like I want to say it's like some kind of business building, but I guess let's try to do this right here. It seems that we have some chief's aide and assemblywoman park. So these must be political people. I'm going to make that sure assumption because it seems that when, because I don't know politics in certain areas. So if this is to be like the equivalent of like, well, hey, this is actually like a big la-di-da woman, and I don't know the difference. I'm sorry, I don't know politics or whatever. So, because we have it to where this assemblywoman is telling these paramedics, it's like, well, why wouldn't they rush to come here with a chopper to get me out of here because I'm a big deal? And the paramedic is like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't say that you were here. And they're like, well, you should because she's a big deal. So that way we can get freaking out of here like that. Because this assemblywoman, is to be some big deal. So I'm like, okay, all right. So we have the chief's aide that is going on and telling these guys what had happened. That it seemed that one guy had gone on and started to turn into this zombie, and so they decided to like duct tape him into this chair. And so the paramedics decide, it's like, well, hey, maybe he's going to bite his tongue at some point. So maybe we should go on and try to prevent him from biting his own tongue. So maybe we should try to like gag him. And so one paramedic ends up sticking his fingers in this guy's mouth to stop this guy from probably swallowing his tongue. And so he gets bitten. And then he turns. And so now they have to go on and like rope this guy down like as if it's some rodeo. And so I'm like, oh my god, these people. Oh my god. So not only that, but then we also have Soju, the paramedic, of course, Ongjo's dad, who's going on and is desperately calling and asking, like, hey, does anybody have a progress report on this high school? Please respond. He keeps saying that over and over, hoping for a response. Nobody says anything, making us quickly assume that these guys are on their freaking own for, like, or really that there can't be any updates, so nobody wants to say anything because nobody really knows. So, because we also have it where supposedly any number of emergency people were supposed to come anywhere. And we, of course, have the classmates or the school, the teachers or the students from the school who go on and they tell us that they had tried to call any number of emergency people and they couldn't get Bubkiss anything. And plus also, we had Shung Sung's mother who goes there for this riot squad to just be there, just kind of holding things off. So, I was kind of wondering what the whole thing was with that. So, we go on and we have, of course, speaking of Shung Sung, let's go with the students. Let's go with the class. So, if we were to assume in the last episode that Chung Sung was to fall to his death, here's one thing that I don't like about this episode. Because it feels like this character is falling to his death in the other episode. But conveniently, in the next episode, oh no, he's not falling to his death. He just was easily to be able to grab onto this rope. That's not what it looks like in the other episode. It looks like he's falling to his death in the other episode. That's garbage. You guys should have just had it to where Chung Sung, get your continuity right. Or they just did that on purpose to make you just but I was immediately thinking, oh, Chung Sung is not dead. How far does he really have to fall that he's going to even fall actually to his death? When really even looking at it, we have had certain characters that it looks like they're going to fall to their death just for them to be okay. But again, we're not 100% sure about that because a lot of those characters were actually zombies. But still, we haven't seen a normal human person jumping off, because that's awful, to see if they live. That seems like a garbage thing to say. Hey, can you test if you could, fall to your death here or live? That seems awful to say, but I'm curious. I'm like, would this guy have actually fell from his death? Probably broken a bone. I don't know. Anyways, pushing on. So, Chung Sung is now hanging on to this rope, and we have it to where now Bear Sue is making his way over to this rope because he is Spider-Manning it up here, and he is trying to desperately go on and climb through this building, and so he has this pipe that he is to possibly make his way to Chung Sung, because we have Chung Sung who's having to boot off this woman, and we have it to where Bear Sue is telling Chung Sung, it's come on already, kick her off. And he's like, I'm sorry, it's hard. Just kick her in the face. Come on. So we go on, and we eventually have it to where Bear Sue has to go on and now hug Chung Sung and kick this girl off, and then we finally have her kicked off, and she falls. Oh my god, I'm falling! So we go on, and we now have Bear Sue and Chung Sung weirdly hugging it out here, and Bear Sue is like, I'm not hugging you, and the guy's like, shut up. You're technically hugging me. And it's weird. So, both the rest of the guys end up going down to this rope, to this broadcast room. And so, all of a sudden now we have Miss Parks, that I guess since she's an adult here, we're gonna have her be the leader, because technically she's the oldest. And I'm like, really? We have all, it's kind of hilarious how, in this show, that weirdly some stuff still matters in this show, which now it shouldn't, because the world is ending. There's so much about this show that I don't get, because the world is now ending. We go on, we have the kids in the one bathroom. We have the archery kids that are just still in the bathroom for whatever reason. Just kind of checking out this window. I'm like, what are you doing? Get freaking out of here. Go on to a much more secluded place where there is no zombies, and just get the F out of here. You're archery people. This seems like a place where there are going to be too many zombies. Go into a much more secluded area where there's fewer people. But that's just me. But we go on, and we have these archery people conflicting with these other students that are in this bathroom. And we have it to where they're going on and talking some bullshit about like certain students being upperclassmen and they shouldn't talk to them that way. I'm like, dude, the world is over. I don't give a what kind of class you are. You can kiss my class because I'm freaking getting out of here. That's what I would be telling motherfuckers. Like, dude, hey, you have archery, like bows and arrows? Let's get freaking out of here. Let's go to some, like, rib joint or something that doesn't have any zombies. Let's go off to there and then just freaking, freaking, we'll have, like, beverages and we'll have freaking food and, like, we can just wait this whole thing out. The one thing about Shaun of the Dead, that was a brilliant slice of story when you really look at it. Blah, 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 blah. When you really look at it, because really, like, a pub could possibly have things of food and or beverage. And so it justifiably made sense to go into that location to survive. Whereas, like, we have it where it's like a school and they're just going into and holding out in a bathroom, where I guess you could probably go on and say it's like, well, they could drink the toilet water. That sounds gross. Out of all the waters, well, they have sink water. That makes sense. But yeah, so they still don't have food though. Like they're eventually gonna like die of starvation, and I'm just waiting for the people in the broadcast room to eventually die from that also, because they're gonna have to make a move sooner or later. So we go on and we have the archery people and the other classmen talking about like, oh well, you shouldn't talk to me that way because I'm an upperclassman, and then we have people who's like, oh, I'm sorry. And so we go on and we have them going and asking about cigarettes, and I'm like, really? You're gonna puff up right now? Go ahead and just puff on up. You might as well just burn this whole school down while you're at it. Plus, also think about it. I'm kind of wondering if this school has a sprinkler system. So if somebody is to light up in this school, would a sprinkler system go off? That might happen. Well, there isn't going to be a fire alarm pulled because someone would have to pull the fire alarm. Yeah. Anyways. Wait. Well, that would not be a good idea. Because I'm like, why didn't they ever pull the fire alarm? And I'm like, well, let me pause here for a second. All right. So if we pulled the fire alarm, technically an alarm would go off, and more than likely that would just bring all the zombies into this one school. So that would technically be a mistake, but honestly, if you look at it, what they could do is everybody could probably go on and take this hose and climb out of this room. And then they can go on and pull the fire alarm, have all the zombies go inside of the school, have everybody run off because that noise, of course, is louder. And then they could all escape, they could all run off while all the zombies are making their way into the school. But a lot of people go on and say, it's like, well, what if all the, what if there's still people trapped inside? They've had their chance. They've had their chance to run off. Like, we have the people on the rooftop that are still up there, and they're not taking they're not taking any time yet to get down off the roof. So what, are they just stuck there? Are we going to find out, like, it's like a hangover situation where we're going to go on and find out that there's, like, two people still stuck on the roof? They're just, like, kind of just thinning out or whatever? I don't know. You would have thought, like, these two people would have seen anybody doing anything at this point, but no. They're just going to continue to be on the rooftop because I completely forgot about them because they don't do anything with them in this episode. So we go on and we have it to where everybody is in the broadcast room. And so now all of a sudden we have this hose that is kind of consistently smacking against this window. And nobody thinks like, hey, let's cut the very end of this hose off because it keeps banging against this window and it might break the window and we might need this escape from out of this window sometime soon, because if you kind of see people jumping off from where they're at, they don't hurt themselves via the landing. Unless you're a zombie. Or if you're a zombie. It's the question of zombie or not. So we go and we of course have our characters that are to realize that there is to be some zombie that is making its way from this hose and is now dangling and smacking against this window. And so we go on and we have nobody has any clue of what to do here. Because I'm like, good God, this is how people die in horror films. Just everybody's just like, huh? What? Oh, should I just go and just, huh? Yeah. I don't get it. In every single horror film, we always have to just stand there and just like, huh? What should I do? Isn't it obvious? I don't know how many times they always have to, like, in this show, just like, oh, what should we do? This person is turning into a big, huge rage monster. What should we do? Well, I think that we should just sit it out and just see. No! Don't second guess yourself. Stab somebody in the head and walk off and just like, okay, well, that problem's resolved. That problem's resolved. But no, people are stupid in this show. What should we do? Hmm? Suggestions? So, this person is just hanging on, just banging on, like, ah. So, we have it to where, of course, In-soo goes and takes this mop and is to stab the zombie into the shoulder. And it seems that we have one Yi-hyun guy who gets smacked in the head. And we, of course, have this guy who goes on and takes this one computer piece and trying to hit this zombie with it. As these guys were trying to go on before that and go on their Facebook and see what the heck is going on. I'm like, what? These guys are like checking their emails? Freaking a zombie apocalypse is going to heck and you're going to check your freaking emails? So to speak? You would have thought this guy would have said, hey, yeah, we're trapped in this high school. Please send help. We've tried to contact so many of these people and we've gotten nowhere. We're stuck in this one room. I don't know if we'll be here forever because like this show is going to consistently have these people hop around, I'm sure. So we go on and we have this zombie who, after some doing, ends up falling and then she runs off from this rope. Like, oh my God. So what happens if that happens another time? What are they gonna like? Are they gonna stay in this environment? Are they gonna keep into this broadcasting room? I don't know. Just like nothing about this really feels all that safe at this point. Nothing about this room feels all that safe. They should go on and try to like go and put something in front of those windows, because if anything has told us that in this show, zombies desperately just want to get through windows in this show. Hence why you see in one episode, one guy has to break a window off through a zombie. So all of a sudden we are to go on and have it where In-soo is to have his nose bleeding. And they're like, oh, he's a zombie, he's turning. And he's like, no, like I got smacked by something and it made my nose bleed. And they're like, sure, sure. And then they all of a sudden realize that he has a scratch on his hand. It's like, oh, what's that? And the guy's like, I got scratched by like a thing of glass or whatever. And they're like, sure, sure, he's a zombie. Put him in the recording room. Shove him in there. Because we find out that supposedly this kid is on welfare, and they call him a wealthy. And I'm like, really? We're again having to give a about this? The world's... I don't know how many times I had to do this for Day of the Dead. I have to do this now on this show, where it's like, the world is over. Who gives a if people have money or not? Are you like you're all gonna turn into a monster all the same, no matter if this guy has a buck and you don't or whatever? Like, you all are going to turn into zombies no matter how wealthy you are or how, or what kind of rung of ladder you are in life. Good God, show. So, we go on and we have In-soo who's like, hey, I'll go into this recording room. Like, everything will be great. And I'll just go on and I'll just stay in there for like 30 minutes, an hour, like 10 years. While you guys all turn, I'm just going to watch, be like, yeah. As I'm starving to death in this room. But I'm going to be like, yeah, you guys all died. And then he has just a secret stash of Slim Jims. Maybe you should have went in this room after all, huh? I have a secret stash of Slim Jims that I had in my back pocket all along. So, we have this guy who goes into this room, stays in this room, and so it seems that 30 minutes has passed, and they're like, hey, like, I think he's not a zombie, bring him back into the room. And we, of course, have Shang Tsung, who's, like, going and kind of playing around with him at the door, just kind of whistling the song, and they figure out what the song is. And so they're kind of playing around with this, like, being the fact that you can't really see one another. And, like, we have it to where both these guys are really good friends. And so it's like, oh, the best friend angle, where every best friend of everybody has to go on and just get killed, probably, or something's going to happen. Because that's always the norm for the show. So, because I'm just waiting, like, here's the thing, though. There really isn't quite yet where there's a lover situation, because I guess these kids are too young for that. But I'm just waiting for somebody to like, yes, I'm going to finally confess my love for you, because the world is probably going to end, and then we're going to just have that person turn around and then just die right after that. Like, I'm waiting for the Day of the Dead kind of thing where it's like, yeah, I think I'm going to go and finally go and confront this person and then die right afterwards. I don't know why I'm comparing this so much to Day of the Dead. This show doesn't deserve that kind of that comparison, but it's the easiest thing to do because I just saw it. So, and it's a zombie show. So we further go on here, and we have it to where now there's people going in there wanting to convince In-soo to get back into the mix of things, because he's not going to turn into a zombie anytime soon. Because every other person that has turned into a zombie would turn into a zombie a lot quicker. So we have Miss Park that goes in there, is convincing this kid. He's like, I'm just going to stay in here for the whole hour because I have a Slim Jim collection that I'm not going to bite my way through. As everyone's going to starve to death, I'm going to laugh at him. So, he doesn't have a Slim Jim collection. I'm just making fun. It's a joke. So, I don't remember there being a Slim Jim collection in this episode. It's a joke. So we go on, and we of course have it where now we need, of course, Lee Na Yayan Yayan Yayan. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that somewhere closely correct. This girl, of course, is to be also known as the girl from Squid Game. She's also in that show, and in this one, she's the redheaded girl. So, at least I will always just say that she's the redheaded girl. She's the only redheaded girl out of this whole entire group. So, we have Nayayan, who is to go in there and is to talk to In-soo, and it seems that she's checking his wound, and she is kind of using this handkerchief to kind of pat at it. And then so this girl is to, of course, convince this guy to come in there really just by insulting him, by still calling him like, yeah, you're still wealthy, and I hate you, and this and that. And just getting more, just these two are just more and more just really just hate one another. And so we have these two just chasing one another out of this room because this guy just wants to kill this girl because of her just being still this person that just won't let it go. That this guy is to be that this guy is to just be on freaking welfare. Who cares? Who care? I don't get this show for that. There's so many other things to give about. Case in point, when is the next zombie gonna show up? And how quickly can I just put my boot in front of its face so that way it can go away? Just immediately, like, people, once they are thrusted upon a zombie invasion, like, they should immediately just be kicking somebody in the face, like Bear-Sue did. But nobody has that knee-jerk reaction. Everybody's like, what's going on? Anyways, so we go on, and then all of a sudden we find out that it seems that In-soo is to start to show signs that he is infected after all. And so Shang Tsung is like, wait a minute, how is this possible? Like, we've seen I don't know how many people like turn like that. Like, it's frickin' Miller time, so to speak. It's beer time. So, but this guy is too weirdly, like, I guess his body can fight the infection? What's going on here? But then the mystery afoot is to be solved. Where, of course, we have our class president, Namra, who's like, hold on a minute. I have a sneaking suspicion. As she is to go on and is to tell the redheaded girl, you know what? I know exactly what you did. And and I have the evidence to prove it. So we go on and find out that Namra was just kind of like in the back compared to everyone else. And so we find out that Nayang had gone and taken this bloody broom and wiped the blood off this mop. And she's like, and you patted with that same handkerchief that you wiped that mop with. You touched that guy's hand. That's what infected him. And the girl's like, no, I didn't. And she's like, well, pull out the handkerchief then. Go and wipe down your own cut that you have right there by your knee. Shouldn't get infected, right? And then we have it to where, like, they find out that, like, yeah, you're a murderer. They should have just gone and said, like, the worst possible thing they could have said to her. Like, they could have said, it's like, yeah, you are just as bad as these monsters. Like, you're just as bad as a zombie. So maybe we should just boot you out of this room and hope that you don't get eaten like all these other zombies. Because you deserve it. Because you're murdering people. I wouldn't trust a murderer frickin', like, unless he was a hitman or assassin. And hopefully he doesn't have any ill will against me. And then I'm like, yeah, this guy is trained. He can just murder everybody. And hopefully it won't be me. Hopefully I don't tick him off or whatever for whatever reason. So yeah, so this girl decides on her own to just leave this room and is to decide to just kind of make her chances. So Miss Park runs after this girl and is to run off up these stairs to go and now hide off with her. And I'm like, man, like I would have actually liked it if there was some reason where we could have left that broadcast room. I want there to be every episode where they kind of consistently change it up and there's always a reason to have to go into other rooms. Because, like, I don't know, like, I just want to, like, if they're going to be in the school environment, I want them to play around with that a lot more. And I honestly think that there's better rooms for them to choose to go into. And I think there's a lot of places that are possibly a lot safer than some broadcast room, in all honesty. Even though when really looking at it, it's like, oh no, that place seems to be a lot more safer than anything else. It's like, I don't know about that. But anyways, so really that's what happens towards most of this episode. I don't think I've covered everything, but if there is something that I forgot about, hence why there's always a thing called a rebuttal. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about this show so far. By and large, tell me anything about how you felt about these first 3 episodes, and so on and so forth. I know a lot of people had probably gone on and probably watched this whole season in one fell swoop of a day. That's great. I would go on and just watch things a chunk at a time as I do, because there is so much to go around and cover and whatever. So with that said, I'm going to get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.